to madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Start looking, listen for a little while. Attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. Well, that music just stopped abruptly there, didn't it? Hello and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. We are coming to you live from Carter County, Tennessee. It's 10 p.m. Sunday, April the 24th, 2022. I want to thank you for joining us. My name is Cliff. I'm joined by my buddies, Tim and Dustin.
Yeehaw.
Here they are. Welcome, guys. How's it going?
Pretty fair for a Sunday.
Yes. It is a beautiful day in Carter County today. Beautiful day in Tennessee. There was supposed to be one of the Starlink satellites. I saw a report from North Carolina that there was you would be able to see the array of Starlink satellites go by at about from 8:49 to 9:01. But maybe that was for North Carolina and I missed it. But I saw some weird looking drone or something go by. Did y'all happen to check that out and look for it?
About it, so
I didn't hear anything of it, so I was...
My son showed it to me, and we tried to find it. We weren't able to see it. So if you saw it, hit us up in the chat about that. Hey, we want to thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you if you're a new subscriber. We appreciate it. You probably made your way here from the Feral People video that's been doing a lot of work. We want to thank you for joining us, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit the button, and if you have subscribed, go ahead and hit the notification bell so you'll know when we go live. It's going to be 10 every Sunday and Wednesday night. We're going to have a new topic for as far as something we're going to delve deeper into on Sundays, and then on Wednesdays we look more into the news and things like that. We do have a few local news tonight, but what we're going to start doing is going into our kind of worldwide stories, our national stories, stuff that everybody can enjoy first, and then we'll get into the local thing at the end of it. That way our local people can still hang on. But we've had a lot of interest in the channel from outside the area, so definitely don't want to make them sit through a bunch of local issues, and I think everybody would be interested in the worldwide national issues.
I actually think you would want to keep the local issues for last also, because if I don't know, I'm weird. I like to check on other people's local things because that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if somebody's subscribing to this to see what we're up to. They probably don't want to hear you talk about something that somebody else is talking about. They probably want to hear you talk about Carter County, the feral people of Appalachia or whatnot.
Well, we're definitely going to get into those tonight, and then I've got a few little local news stories that we're going to save, because that's more of what we're going to do on Wednesday is the local stories. Then we'll kind of have one that everybody can get into on Sundays. But I think it'll be particularly interesting for people who live in this area, considering that's where the stories are about. So this is our 32nd episode, and we've got into the feral people. Tim and I spoke about it on the third episode of the show that we got into it, and that video got like 1,500 views over the last couple of days. So I thought maybe we'd revisit some of those topics and go back into them in a little bit more depth, because we went over stone staircases in the woods and things like that. But we didn't really get into a lot of specific cases of feral people in the woods. So I did want to get into some of these and look at feral people worldwide also, because there are a lot of documented cases of it.
Did we bring up the Booger Man of Butler? Sorry, guys.
I don't remember if that's come up or not. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, no, I mean, we did talk about the Booger Man, and I remember you talked about how you guys had hacked over the mountain at one point, and your people freaked out there like you're lucky the wild people out there didn't get you or whatever. And it seems like, I don't remember if we talked about on the same episode as the feral people, but I'm wondering if those wouldn't be like connected issues, like people, because I mean, I saw one of the comments on the video that we're talking about, episode 3. And somebody said that they thought that maybe Bigfoot and the feral people were connected, that maybe that's what Bigfoot is feral people. And you think feral people would probably live in groups. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, more than likely.
I would think we'd live in groups, so I'm wondering now if maybe Bigfoot sightings. I don't know. Entertain me here, people. Everything doesn't have to be so concrete. Give me a second.
Well,
like, maybe Bigfoot is just when we see a feral person get lost from the group.
Right.
Yeah.
And they start throwing rocks at us to try to maybe find out who we are. Me and my wife went up on the top of Holston Mountain today, and we parked our car, and we went around, and as we were looking around on the trail that we were on, we kind of walked off a little bit, and we're over the hill from the road. And as I was thinking about this topic, I was imagining if I were a feral person, right? And I was watching cars go by. These people had no idea I was there. I mean, they know my car was there, but I was just not even really trying to hide. And yet it was very easy for me to remain concealed, and people were completely unaware of my presence. So as I was standing there, and my wife and I were looking, there's a lot of old chalk and fossils up there from when East Tennessee used to be an ancient sea, many years ago. And we were looking through some of these things. We started hearing some noises in the bush, and ultimately I think it was a couple of deer. We never did actually see them, but they were really, really close to us. I mean, you could tell by, that's possible too. The demons of the hill country of Appalachia. Now there's a show. You ever read the Jack Tales or hear the Jack Tales?
I think you brought those up once. I remember them as far as like grade school, like early elementary school. I remember them, but not enough to recite any of them to you.
There were old folk tales from the southeast, or I guess you could say Appalachia. A lot of them from Virginia, and a lot of times they involved a lot of the old folk legends of demons and giants in the hills of Appalachia. And they spoke as those things as if they were commonplace occurrence, and everybody just kind of knew they were there. Demons, giants, witches, kings who lived in Appalachia. And they were really popular, I guess, in the late 30s, early 40s, I guess the late 30s is kind of when they really got the first. So Richard Chase wrote the book compiling them, and they were kind of being studied all over the universities as people became fascinated with this lore that had built up kind of mostly an oral tradition, and yet these stories kind of made their way around the Appalachian Mountains.
Jack and the Beanstalk one of those?
Yeah, it's a similar one. It's called Jack and the Bean Tree, in the way that it's told in the Jack Tales, and it's almost the same story.
So Jack did more than climb one bean tree.
Yeah, he killed a lot of giants. There was Jack the Giant Killer. I'm sure that some of our viewers, and maybe you guys have seen, there was a video, it was a Walt Disney cartoon with Mickey Mouse where he killed 7 flies, and he said he had a belt made that said like Jack killed 7 or something like that, and then somebody hires him to go kill giants because he had, they said he killed 7 in one. Wild Man Jack killed 7 in one whack or something like that, and they hired him to kill giants, and then he ended up killing the giants quite by accident. And Jack kind of, and that was a Jack tale too, but that's. Who knows how long those tales go back? Do they go back to England? I don't know, but they're from the descendants of the Scots and the Ulsters.
Were real?
Yeah, could be.
Now with all that probably plays into barn stars.
What's barn stars?
Whenever you go through and you see like the thing
on the barns.
on a barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things that are either like a star. It looks kind of like a Viking round
Sometimes
shield
like
in
a
a way,
quilt
or a quilted kind of pattern. They're supposed to like ward like evil and witches away from your barn.
I think there is.
Anything about that? I mean, like I don't know anything about that except for I've noticed them more when you go up towards like Pennsylvania.
It is a little more towards there, but it does come down through.
Yeah, there's a couple around here.
Yeah, especially if you go back. I mean, that's not
really what we're talking about. Yeah.
That's more like the one you get at like Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Nah. We'll find us some more. But yeah, these are more like, they look like more like tile or something like that. Like this right here.
Yeah, they're like
the quilts are part of like a national quilting thing.
Are you sure?
Yeah, like hang on a second.
You can see those the old like Mennonites and Amish people even do that.
I think that's separate from the stars, isn't it?
Mm-mm.
Is it not?
I don't think
I'm trusting you and Goff on this.
Ever seen a quilt pattern on a barn? See, this is from Wide Open Country.
I trust Wide Open Country, but let's hear it.
Let's see.
Could be the man.
Barn quilts have been around for many years. There's a spike in popularity in the last 2 decades. In Adams County, Donna Sue Graves set out to honor her mother and began by painting a quilt block on her tobacco barn. And soon her friends began doing it, and blah, 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 blah. The quilt trail. This is what I was looking for. Barn quilt info. It's a collection of quilt blocks on a series of barns on a walking or driving trail. The quilt patterns don't have to be on barns, though. They can be on the side of any building the quilter sees fit to put them on. But they are typically on barns. That's usually where you see them. But I do think that's separate from the star thing. So let's look up barn stars real quick here and see if we...
For the sake of interest, I'm going to say these barn stars represent the fallen angels and that these are all devil worshippers. Go ahead. Chime in. Goff. Tell me I'm right.
I'll follow that. Exploring Burke County's barn stars. Let's look at some of these ones here.
Yeah. Elegant barn.
It is.
Can people see this? Or not?
Yeah, they can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like spirograph.
It's like sacred geometry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's got to be something else going on that we don't understand about that, because like some of these, so like I said, some of the old patterns that you could see on these older barns up north, like it doesn't look like it was just to be trendy. It looks like there's some kind of kind of pagan background.
Warding, I think they warded witches and other demonic presences off of your barns.
You think? Well, I guess using just
belongings were normally in there. Your animals,
animals are pretty important and alive.
Mm-hmm. And also like it's where you would hang like,
because it's not just on the barn. Sometimes you'd see them above people's doors and stuff.
There's an old saying that I've heard. I haven't heard in a while. That was something about that too.
Dutch.
Well, this is the meanings. This is in the hex signs, myth and meaning in Pennsylvania Dutch barn stars. He visited more than 200 barns in 9 county southeastern areas of the state, and he says that the earliest of these barn stars were incorporated, originally painted, not carved, into the masonry of the date board, often located on the upper gable ends of the barn. The stars combined with the initials of either the builders or the owners in the date of construction, and they had celestial and biblical meanings. They symbolize the passing of time and humanity's witness to that, and they kind of also began to go to a different style where it was kind of more to elevate the barn to symbolize the farmer status and the pride in the farming, and that kind of made the barn the focal point of the property. So this is in this area at least. He talks about sacred geometry also.
This guy does?
Yeah, he does.
Oh,
Eric Claypool. Yeah, he talks about the stars that he uses and this is the guy painting them, and he's telling you it's sacred geometry. He says it captivates him with the angles of 8 and 12-point stars, so common in Bond stars. He's got 60-degree angles, 45-degree angles, 16-degree angles, and those are all the repetitive signs in 7s, 13s, 22. 7 is the symbolic of the days of creation. 13 is for Christ and the disciples, and 22 is the number of letters in the Jewish alphabet.
I
So
say that, but
there's lots of different names for all those. You also have this 13. 7 is the sign of perfection. The 7 of the 13 is the sign of perfection and the imperfection, the combination of the perfect and the sun. The Jesus and Lucifer, is that not right? Got your 7 and your 6 together.
well, I guess my interest here. Well, here the 22's the
22 is the builder number. Yeah.
My issue here is like I guess not with. It shouldn't be with this. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I just think it's funny when people start when people decide to take mystical things and apply it to their only thing, like sacred geometry. Like it's math. Like I guess you could apply a book to it, but like you could just as easily start finding meaning from sacred geometry in other religions if you wanted to use your book on it. Like,
Oh yeah.
7 days in the week is not unique to Christians. We all have 7 days in the week.
This thing wants to. It only wants to show me. I'm going to try to.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. I don't want wars. I want Ward. Let's see. Barnstar Hex.
Star. Okay. Well, that's a wild one in the middle there, but once again, it's probably a lot more like Pottery Barn or something.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Etsy. That sucks.
Here we go. This is more.
I have low taste on it.
Let's look at this. Pennsylvania,
So it's Dutch.
Glencairn Museum.
So that's where we're coming from.
Sacred and
It's
celestial
Dutch.
symbolism in Pennsylvania Dutch barns.
What do you know about the Dutch, Carl?
Ovens.
Got a lot of these here.
Say nothing.
Ovens.
Oh, Dutch.
Creator of stars and heavens.
Those crafty Dutch. All right, hey, let's get off of barn stars though for now too. Let's get into the feral people. It's so easy to get into these topics and just run away with them, but we got to have a minute where we just shoot the shit before we get into the topic.
Figure out if there's any feral people in Deutschland.
I'm sure there are, but there's definitely one. Peter the Wolf is the famous one. Let's look here. I've got these articles shared in the description here, so if y'all want to check them out, they are there.
There's I guess because feral has because there's a wild one. Like I'm assuming when you're doing this, the kid lived out in the woods.
By Fiona McDonald. Looks like Fiona Apple from the Criminal video. Sorry.
There's one girl they called feral that we read in Abnormal Psych. Read about in Abnormal Psych. She was feral, but she wasn't in the wild. Like her parents kept her chained to a radiator heater in a room for like 13 years. And since her feet had always been together, when they finally freed her, she like would bunny hop for like I don't know a good amount of time before she finally realized that she could walk independently with her feet.
Well, we got some similar stories. I think that one may be in here actually. We may not go over all these just because there's so many of them, but this is actual documented cases. I shared it in the description if y'all want to check it out. This is by Fiona McDonald and BBC from 2015, and we're talking about, in this case, of Oksana Malaya in Ukraine in 1991. She was actually living with dogs and found living with dogs in 1991. She was 8 years old, and her parents had left her outside one night. They were drunks, and they left her outside one night, and she ended up crawling into the kennel and curling up with the dogs there on the farm. And she ended up, when they found her, she was running on all fours. She was panting with her tongue out, baring her teeth and barking. And she only knew the words yes and no. And
that thing right there, it said that she lived with the dogs for 6 of her 8 years.
Yeah, that's right.
She got around the dogs around the time she was about 2.5 probably. Yeah. So I mean, but
now this woman's still alive and she lives in Odessa. She's younger than us, and she's working in with hospital farm animals in Odessa. Well, I hope she's still doing okay with everything going on over in that area right now. We also got this fella Shamdeo in India in 1972. This is not like Tarzan, says Fullerton Batten. The children had to fight animals for their own food, and they had to learn to survive. and there's actually 15 cases in her feral children project that are from India, and there's lots of different ones. There's like a guy who would hunt chickens and kill them and crave blood, and he always hung out with dogs, and he never spoke, but learned some sign language. This is kind of a more famous one here because this woman wrote a book. Yeah, it was in Colombia. Her name is Marina Chapman. And it's funny because I looked up a lot of these and I had sat and compiled several stories to put together, and then I found this article from the BBC that actually had
most of her.
Yeah, like everything, and a lot of it in more detail than I had actually found compiling these things. But the photographer Maria Chaplin was called The Girl with No Name. Now, she was kidnapped in 1954 in South America, in somewhere in the jungle, and she ended up living with a family of capuchin monkeys for 5 years, and then she was discovered by hunters. She would eat berries and roots and bananas, sleep in holes, walk in all fours, just live like a monkey. And the monkeys weren't giving her food, though. She learned to survive like a monkey, and she copied. They pull ice and all this stuff now. But she now lives in England and is married and has kids. And a lot of people didn't believe her, but she contends that it did. And let's see. Here's a picture of her.
It's not the most unbelievable story. There's people that
with capuchin monkeys.
Way weirder. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's actually it's pretty believable.
Yeah.
Like a little girl would be raised with monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
More believable than it was the kid who was, it's like raised in the English forest.
Are you talking about Peter the Wild Boy?
I'm thinking so. I may even have the area wrong, but
yeah.
He's probably one of the most famous cases. I think he's the earliest.
He was, yeah. He was born in 1713. Yeah, and now Peter, he actually... they found him living in the woods, and it was in Germany, and in Hamelin, which is, have you ever heard the legend of the Pied Piper? Mm-hmm. Where they, trade their kids to the Pied Piper to get rid of the rats or whatever. But that's the town where that took place, and this boy was found. He was living for who knows how long out in the woods, and walking on all fours and being crazy and acting crazy and couldn't speak. Well, they brought him in, and it turned out he had a genetic disorder, Pitt-Hopkins disorder, which kind of misshapes your face and kind of
makes you an undesirable in the 1700s.
Yeah, more or less. And he ended up getting he became national news or international news, and became famous in London. Jonathan Swift wrote a satire about him, and the Daniel Defoe wrote a little bit on it. Carolyn, the Princess of Wales, I thought this was one of the more interesting things about it.
Willem related to this Defoe?
Probably.
Sorry, keep going.
Probably. He does kind of have that facial feature there. Same as Peter the Wild Boy a little bit, but maybe.
Do you think that was... I haven't seen the new Batman yet, but there was a significant, there was a significant increase in Pattinson's manliness. Do you think it was because when he was filming The White House with Willem Dafoe, it was so terrifying having Willem Dafoe screaming at him like that for every day on the set that he was like, I'm gonna be fucking Batman after this. Yeah, my nuts have dropped. I've survived the abuse of Willem Dafoe.
Reckon he got.
I too am a bit of a scientist.
Or maybe he got Pitt-Hopkins disease and warped it. I don't know how that works. Probably born with that. It just says genetic.
I mean, I've never Pitt-Hopkins.
I haven't either.
Is it similar to the dude from that movie, The Mask? Not the Jim?
No, it's not like that. I clicked on it earlier, and it showed a kid with his eyes blocked out and had a jutting out.
Right here doesn't really.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Okay.
Let's show you that right quick. Yeah, the Pitt-Hopkins kind of got the jaw jutting out a little bit. And kind of
it's not so undesirable. That just looks like a dude who's not symmetrically shapen,
Yep.
A little bit of
some high standards back in the day, huh?
Yeah, for real.
He couldn't have just been like the guy he couldn't be like a tosser, the dude who went in the sewers and scraped the shit out. He was, oh my God, you got
could
that.
Have been a chimney sweep.
I've seen some royalty pictures that were.
Yeah,
Shoot
their inbred. He looks pretty nice there. He's done up by that painting was done at Kensington Palace because Carolyn, the Princess of Wales, she basically adopted him and had doctors taking care of him and sent him to get educated, and like she put him in school for years, and he never really could learn much. But he did end up, you know, he ran off one time and like made the news again. They had to find him and send him back, and they actually made him a collar, so he
Collar.
could,
Oh, nice.
so he couldn't run off again. But he ended up living, 1751. He went missing, and they put advertisements in the newspapers, and they finally found him, and they sent him back on home, and they had the special collar with his name on him and his address in case he was ever astray again.
What is this word here? As the fire spread, the local
Gowl.
Gowl. What is
Gowl.
that? Guys, I'm from Carter County. I don't know what a GAOL is. Gowl. I want to know.
Let's find out.
Put it in there. Tell us, Goff. I would like to know.
I can't think of what it is, but I know what
It's a jail.
Jail.
Okay,
They
yeah.
couldn't have said jail.
Jail.
Okay.
That's how you say jail.
I think Wikipedia was a little bit highbrow with that word.
I think so. I think
Point
so.
in saying that.
Where do we go here?
Oh. Wow, we're everywhere.
Peter the Wolf. Peter the Wolf.
There it is.
There we go.
See, look at that. As the fire spread, the local jail became engulfed in smoke and fire.
Why not just write jail?
Somebody's just trying to show off their Ivy League education, their fancy words.
Well, Peter ended up living to be 70 years old. And they said, you know, he would say Peter and King George, and he could hum a few songs, but that was really all he could do. And they had a portrait. I'd like to find that portrait of the wide boy, but
So they didn't really, they obviously didn't see him as human then, if they had a fucking leather collar made.
well, he couldn't take care of himself and couldn't learn to speak English, and he acted like an animal. So they basically had to.
You're like, wow.
They were like, I'm sure they were like, this is how we have to treat him to take care of him.
Okay. Okay. But can you imagine in this day and age putting a collar on somebody of any form? I mean, like.
Well, you remember this fella here? This is the Boston Globe. I shared this.
Collar on somebody every Saturday night. He's like, I play metal. I'm weird.
Well, remember this story, the Appalachian Trail Killer?
Yeah.
This guy running around in the woods hiking. I mean, although he did interact with the public and stuff from time to time, I mean.
Did he live out there?
Can you imagine this guy, filthy, had been on the trail for a couple of days? He's like a pretty good sized fella. I think he's like 6'3". You know, he messing with hikers and threatening them to burn their tents down and charging them. And he ended up stabbing 2 people. He killed the dude, and his girlfriend played dead and had to hike like 6 miles to get out of the wood and get away from this guy. But you know, we talk about feral people, and there's the legend of the Tennessee wild man that goes way back to the 1800s in McNairy County. And some of the stories say that there was a circus freak that captured the beast and put him on display. But I don't know if anybody, you know, has any photographs or anything like that.
A skunk ape.
Yeah, the skunk ape, that's another name for Bigfoot, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's more of like I think the variant that's in the South, like in Florida.
Yeah.
Those areas were skunk apes.
Okay.
I think from what the Bigfoot lore, I haven't brushed up on it. Like where they're located, it's almost like different sects, and they're slightly different.
Kind of like the Yeti is in the cold area.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the movie Primal Rage?
Played the game.
It's not the game. I thought it was. It's actually like a Bigfoot.
Wait, I think I know what you're talking about, because I was like, I wonder if this is based off the game.
Yeah.
And then
I don't want to give it away
When there was
because
no fart bombs.
It's like, or eating your little fans, whatever, little
That was
humans.
a hard game to like operate.
It was.
The moves are too complicated, or maybe I just sucked at fighting games.
Well, there were so many moves, especially if you were playing on the Genesis. You had 3 buttons.
Yeah, and you had to do it.
You're trying to do like a button combo where you're having to like stand on your head to make it do an attack.
and you have to like hold start or something to get him to do it. Certain ones.
Or if you
instead
had the special controller that had a shoulder button and it could program.
Yeah, they had the 6-button controllers, but I didn't know many people that had those.
Had one.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a godsend.
Bastard.
And usually on games that it didn't have that function, if you hit him, it was like a turbo, and it doubled the frames. Whatever.
I had the one of the Super Nintendo controllers that you're supposed to be able to program like your fatalities and stuff into it. I never could get it to work. It was like you're supposed to be able to program your special moves and your
Yeah.
fatalities, and you'd switch. Oh, I'm playing Mortal Kombat 2, so let me hit this button. I'm playing with Sonya, and then now I can do the fatality. I
you know-
never could get it to work.
That they started making all that hidden stuff in games so they could sell magazines. I know that's not. I know that's really
think
far
I've heard
off
that,
topic,
actually.
but if you ever want to look, like specifically, like one of the biggest ones that exposed that that's what they're doing was Castlevania 2, because you literally would not be
yeah.
able to beat that
Oh yeah,
game if
because you
you
couldn't even
didn't
get the
buy
damn
Nintendo
game
power.
started. Yeah.
Like if you got so far
tornado.
ahead of if you got so far ahead where
What
the
was it?
magazine
You
was
had
talking
to-
about,
you
were
had to-
screwed because it was so oddly specific what you were supposed
You had
to
to
do.
go all the way to the left of the screen and duck, and then select a certain
You had to
item,
have
and
a
hold
certain
the button,
gym, and you had
then-
to set ducked for, and it was like a minute
Yeah.
before it would finally go, and it would go down below the water so you could walk lower.
Well, they didn't sell any magazines to my friends. One of them figured out how to do it or bought the magazine and then told everybody else. So
Well, once somebody had the magazine, they would start talking, because we
Yeah.
would just go in Walmart, pull it off the shelf, and
Yeah.
read stuff, and then go back home. And
yeah, I remember playing the damn when Mortal Kombat came out and they had it on the Nintendos in there. I was like, anytime Mom go to Walmart, I'd be like standing back there. She'd have to page me to the front of the store. They're back there playing Star Fox or Mortal Kombat or
My
whatever.
mom just, whenever she was getting ready to leave, she knew the two places I'd be at, and I would just be like, okay.
I think when my mom would come and I wouldn't leave, she would page me just to embarrass me, so to discourage me from refusing to leave again.
like, yeah, haha, joke's on you, Mom. Everybody knows I don't listen to you now.
No, I don't think.
Feral humans in the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah, now, so this is a famous story here. We got Dennis Martin. A lot of people talk about this when we get into the feral humans. And so if you've watched feral humans videos before and you're just kind of coming into us on another string of feral humans, you've probably heard of this story. But maybe some of the people from around here, even though this is a local story, haven't heard this story because a lot of the people that I've talked to haven't.
I don't know this name. So
Well, David Pilatus of Missing 411, he does a real in-depth breakdown of this. So if you find something like Dennis Martin interesting, David Pilatus Missing 411 would be a good place to go to check that out. He's got a real good site there, and I'm gonna share. I shared a link to one of him because he'll come up a little bit later in the discussion. But let's go on to the. Whoops, that's not where we want to go. Where do we want to go now?
sometimes you
Totally gone. Totally gone.
down to clear.
There we go.
Boom, ba, doom, ba, doom, doom.
Now, Dennis Martin.
Where we
He was 6 years old, and
Go ahead, sorry.
oh, it's all right. You guys finish up. Go ahead. No, Dennis Martin was 6 years old. Man, my shoes are tied together. Speaking of Jack tails, remember Jack and the Beanstalk? Jack ties the giant's shoes together.
Does he do that?
Yeah, he
Yep.
does.
Does he?
Now
Maybe
my,
there's
now my
like a-
shoes are tied together. Maybe there's a tiny little man named Jack underneath my table.
Pretty
He's trying to kill us
Yeah, trying to steal my golden harp.
and your
But-
chicken.
Now, Dennis Martin disappeared in the Smoky Mountain, and it says his disappearance has sparked wild theories decades later. Now, he disappeared on the Appalachian Trail, and people saw, his red jacket. He walked off, wandered off, and then just kind of never came back. They were at Cades Cove. It says Cades Cove in here, but they. Met up with another group, and next thing you know, little Dennis was gone. They were kind of sneaking off to play a trick on the adults, and then Dennis kind of snuck off in the other direction and never was seen from again. The other boys jumped out to scare the adults, and Dennis didn't pop out, and then they realized something was up, so they went to go look for him. And that reminds me, I went hiking with the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts up here at Watauga Lake when I was a kid, and this kid went missing. We had to look for him for like all day. It was pretty crazy how quick somebody can go missing.
Did you find him?
Oh, yeah, we found him.
kick his ass?
Yeah, I don't really remember. I think I was probably 9 or 10 when it happened, and there was a whole group of them up there, and like him and his brothers. There was like 5 of them, and he went missing, and it took us forever to find him. But these guys, they never did find Dennis Martin, and they ended up getting the Rangers there, and they brought all kinds of people out, and there was a big rain first, though, so that kind of ruined a lot of the trail, the big heavy rain. But then so many people came out to help that it was counterproductive because they were stomping all over all the clues, and there was a lot of fog too, so the prime time to search, there was a lot of mishaps that made it hard to find this guy. So anyway, the details are not really important, but Dennis Martin was never found. But now a lot of people are suggesting that perhaps he was the victim of feral people kidnapping him. And there's been a lot of this in the news about...
Never watched this Dennis the Menace episode.
Yeah, I missed that one myself. Mr. Wilson, you've changed. But he never showed up, and a lot of people are saying that feral people got him. And there was a part of the story, I guess, that makes people say that is a few days after the boy was missing. I think it was actually a couple of weeks after the boy went missing, and it became a news story. Someone called and reported that they had seen what looked like someone wearing a Bigfoot suit or something like that, or a large hairy man carrying off something red, and they heard a big scream, and they said that must have been Dennis, and that's kind of why this led to the idea of a feral person carrying him off. And a lot of people poo-poo that, and they say that because the guy, came out after the fact, that he's not reliable or anything like that, and that could be the case. But fact is, there's been lots of reports over the years of wild men in Tennessee.
The Wild Bluff Screamer.
Well, this is that's a whole different thing.
Just a redneck. Wow! Screaming at you. Man, I saw the old Wild Bluff Screamer. What do you do? Came up there and hollered at me, man.
Just popped right out of the woodwork and just came hollering.
What do you do? He hollered real loud.
Felt like he was using power tools. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, but the wild man, though, is like it's an old legend going back in Tennessee, and Donnie Laws has some really good videos on that, and I had a page pulled up on the wild man.
I don't know. I just remembered this. I don't remember if I used to work with this guy or if that was somebody that I knew through somebody I worked with, and I forget his name. It's just I remember the story. He said it was somewhere around here. He was either like kayaking or he was tubing along somewhere around the river, and he found near part of it there was like a cave right off of it, and he was like, I'm gonna go take a, I'm gonna go take a look. And he went in there, and he said he heard something like eating something, and then whenever he turned like a corner, he could barely see like some light off of it. It looked like a human on their haunches, hunched over, and he said it kind of twitched, and he said he'd hightailed that up there and got back to the river and
Haunches. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's a good word.
On his
Haunches. Anyways, on the ham hocks.
haunches eating hawks.
So you think that I guess
could've
follow
been.
this little rabbit hole down there for just a second. So do you think they live in caves? Because I would think, at what point do you think feral people would be able to build a structure? I guess is what I
there's
guess.
no shortage of caves in the Appalachian area.
No, there's
you
not.
can find them everywhere.
And they're very well climate controlled, so it's
roughly
like you
the
can
same
survive
temperature.
winters, and during the heat of the summer they stay
Water,
relatively
a lot
the
of
same.
them.
You wouldn't want to drink the water in the cave, so that's normally highly acidic.
You're feral though.
That doesn't make you immortal.
What if it does?
I mean, you could.
Maybe if they
The
found,
wild-
maybe there's a certain fountain in a cave somewhere that gives you immortality
No,
at
I'm
the sake
saying,
of your sanity.
What if you go feral and that is the true fountain of like immortality? Just to really lose your shit and go bonkers, and like that tribe of like 1,200 people out there next to Venezuela. Those people have been alive for 990 years because they just continue, Cliff.
Oh, I don't got
It'd be
nothing.
like that there's like a wild man in somewhere in the Mid East or something. He said he hadn't eaten in like 47 years.
Is he a liar?
No, they brought him into a thing, and he said he doesn't drink water or something. He was some sort of like, I don't know, this wild man somewhere, and then he they took him into captivity. They were like, watched him as a scientific thing to be like, yeah, this guy's bullcrap. He has to be able to eat and drink. And then he's like, they had him for like a week, and he didn't touch any water or anything. Just
I'm gonna look up man doesn't eat or drink.
You're going to
Yeah.
get a bunch of articles from like people in India.
it was somewhere in that area.
Is it this guy?
Yeah, this guy.
There was one dude that's caked in dirt, and I think he was out in like Iran or something.
This is from NBC News. The starving yogi says it's true. An 82-year-old
Say
man.
that the pineal gland feeds him a nectar from the back of his throat or something. That's
Well,
what
no,
some guys try to say. That through
Let's just see what he has to
massive
say here.
meditation and use of the perfected yoga and all this stuff, they think that you can essentially become like a plant and like absorb solar and spirit energy through the wind and
Well, the display capture was working properly. I can't find my mouse either. I don't know.
you just gotta sling it around real chaotic like, because that's what I like to do, and then you find it on the side of the screen that you didn't even supposed to have it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But it's waiting for NBCnews.com and won't let me bring up my taskbar here. Oh well.
It does not get better when you get a larger monitor. Like if you go 1440 or 4K and you got a big monitor and you're like, oh great, now where's the mouse? Because the cursor's even smaller.
There we go. I need to bring down my sensitivity because
that's
that's
the softball.
crazy there.
It's like,
Then you'd have such a big screen, you'd still lose it.
Well, we're still not getting any display capture action going on here, so I guess it's decided to quit working,
Oh, well.
and that's all right.
You could probably get rid of old.
I'll just tell you about Pralad Johnny.
Old Indian.
Old Pralad Johnny. 82-year-old.
Pralad Johnny.
He's
That's
making
how a
it.
Tennessee man says it.
That's right. Well, he is the Indian wild man who doesn't eat, he says.
Is he wild though?
I mean, that's what
He's
I
having a
thought.
conversation
He's a
with him.
yogi. I don't know.
oh, he might be wild, not
He's not
feral.
feral.
Not feral, yeah, no. He's a yogi.
I'm just saying, feral people don't like climb to the top of a pine tree and go, you know what? I'm going to reach enlightenment and just live off my brain nectar and be at peace with the world.
That's
Especially if
probably
they're
true.
down on their haunches eating something in a cave.
Yeah.
That's
Probably
not
true.
enlightenment, or is it?
I mean, I guess it just depends. Like, those monks that hang out and live in a cave and eat straw for
about
30
these
years.
people.
They say they've achieved enlightenment.
Are these Chinese monks like Lao Tzu?
Yeah, Lao Tzu,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense then.
Yeah, he's supposed to be enlightening. Well, I was going to show you more about the Tennessee wild man, but I can't share the screen with you. So we'll get back into that. But they say he has dark gray hair or ginger hair, 7 feet tall, and he always has piercing red eyes and has a war cry that will frighten anyone to hear it, and a horrible smell. And he's supposed to abduct women, right? Like he tries to abduct women. That was pretty common for him. And that, if you watch that movie that I was getting into, is Primal Rage, you see that's set in the Pacific Northwest, and it's supposed to be, I guess, Bigfoot. But it's really just a big, giant, hairy, humanoid creature, which you could, call Bigfoot. But, you could also call it just a big human. And there are reports of people finding giant bones all over the country and those things being hidden. So, and some of it credible too. I mean, this is not just all crazy people saying this. This is actual,
Reports of giants it's just something we just don't talk about. It's not
They made it
conspiracy.
They made it real hush hush conspiracy whenever the 20th century hit. Because before that, it was just like, they found more giant bones.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Remember, you pulled up a speech of Abe Lincoln, and I was even trying to call you on, like, nah, there's no
Yeah,
way.
yeah, and it's like, well, there it is.
There it is. Saying that there's giant bones buried throughout the United States.
Yeah, and it did sound like, I mean, you could until you get right into his words, you could say he was talking about the mastodons and stuff. But when we looked at it specifically, no, he was talking about it. We're here in Elizabethton, Tennessee, in Carter County, and the latest known sighting of the wild man that is attributed to the wild man, or called specifically the wild man, was 20 years ago, and this is probably 30 years ago now. And Rob Phillips, along with his cousin, they were hiking at the Bee Cliffs, which is where they filmed part of
Still breathing.
Delta Force, Delta Force 2. They saw something in the forest and chased him off. Now, when I was
Chuck Norris. That was the wild
His
man
Uncle
they saw.
Bobby.
Maybe Chuck Norris is the wild man. Maybe Chuck Norris impregnated a bunch of
He just Chuck Norris out
woods
there running
people.
around out in the woods.
And a bunch
That's
of
his kids and the feral people. All the feral people are just the brood of Chuck Norris's escapades.
But it happens sort of like some sort of like demonic Jersey Devil kind of thing. That's why he has the piercing red eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets those eyes like he's in Firestar, not Firewalker. No, is that right?
Firewalker, Texas Ranger.
Firewalker, Texas Ranger.
Firewalker with me.
Evil version of him.
Oh yeah, I can't share the display. I was going to show y'all.
How old is Walker? Chuck Norris now. He's got to be getting up there. Isn't he?
I think he's in late 80s
Yeah.
at least.
No, he's not that old. He's in his 70s, I think.
I thought he was.
Let's see. Late 80s, maybe he is. It already knows what we're doing. You're getting good with the AI there, Google.
Well, they're listening, so.
How old? 82 years. Wow,
Born 1940.
man, he looks good.
Does he?
Yeah, I've seen pictures of him. Let's see. Let's pull up.
If we could find Cliff, a sexy bearded man, we'd make him stay.
I can't show y'all, but Chuck Norris is looking pretty good for 82 years old. Do you reckon he dyes that hair red, or I don't know? Probably.
It's like, okay.
Probably. Look at his beard.
Chuck
Probably
probably
Chuck Norris.
creates red. I mean, probably red exudes
That's just
from
the blood of his.
Chuck Norris. Like, if it weren't for Chuck Norris, there would be no red. So, yeah, but yeah, back to the Tennessee Wild Man.
Back to the Tennessee Wild.
He was supposed to be 9 feet tall and had big claws and a pervasive stink that smelled like a dead animal. So, he's been.
I think that person came into Walmart.
He's been, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we see some of those. It's unlikely that the same guy's been reported for 150 years. So we've had lots of reports all over the state of the Tennessee Wild Man. And,
Longevity of youth.
well, we got into the idea before that maybe some of these soldiers who deserted from the Civil War, because you had a lot of people in the state of Tennessee was like heavily divided. In this area in particular, there weren't a lot of people who wanted to go to war for the South, because there were, for one, there wasn't a lot of slaves in this area. But then you had on down towards the middle and the west end of the state, those people wanted to be more, they wanted to join the Confederacy, and they did use a lot of slave labor. So you had the state kind of divided, and you had a lot of people that, and ultimately the state of Tennessee sided up with the Confederacy, and so a lot of people didn't want to fight on the side of the Confederacy and deserted. And we talked about the idea that maybe these people who deserted started their own lives out in the forest, and they had, maybe some of them went crazy, maybe some of them started families. You don't really know what might have happened with people, because that's the whole idea, is that they went off the grid and they didn't, don't know. But you see these videos of some of these people who live like up in West Virginia, who are kind of like inbred and live out in, just middle of nowhere in a house, and you come and take them out and they're just totally uncivilized. They've never really been around. They have clothes that are like modern because people have brought them to them, but they don't, take them to the store. It's like you're taking them to another planet. I can't remember the name of that, or I would tell you what it was. So you
What
can
about
watch it.
those people that I guess are almost feral? Some are the Smurf people. The ones that are
people.
actually blue.
Talking about Melungeons?
No, it's in America.
No, Melungeons are in the.
Yeah, we talked about the Smurf
Okay, maybe,
people, or the Melungeons
This
before.
isn't him though. That's this guy right here. Got turned his skin blue with colloidal silver. It's not this, they call him Papa
Oh,
Smurf.
this says the Fugatis, a family who lived in the hills of Kentucky, are notable for having been carriers of a genetic trait that led to the blood disorder methemoglobinemia, which causes the appearance of blue-tinned skin.
Yeah, let's look at that. Because the Melungeons, they think they're just like either connected to like Africa or just Native American.
Well, they don't really know. They're
Yeah,
somewhere.
but these people are actually blue.
Yeah.
Because they have like a blood disorder or something.
The Melungeons were
Is this what you're talking
dark-skinned
about?
people who were.
Okay, so Goff was talking about the blue Fugatis.
Yeah.
Like a folk band. Or does it?
Oh, it does.
Blue Fugatis?
That sounds like in a sports car.
Does this sound like a sports car?
Well, Bugatti.
Sounds like, yeah, it does sound like a little, like
Bugatti.
a little Italian sports car.
I'm thinking of Fugazi. That's the word I'm thinking of.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, what is that word? Continue, Cliff. Sorry.
I don't know. Good. He treated the family with methylene blue, which eased the symptoms and reduced the blue coloring of the skin. But it doesn't really give us much information here, other than that they have the genetic disorder they're both carriers of the recessive methemoglobinia gene, and 4 of their 7 children exhibited blue skin, and the limited local gene pool ensured that many descendants of the Fugattis were born with this blue skin. So they kind of propagated throughout this area of Kentucky. There are the Dukes of Hazzard, near Hazard, Kentucky. Just some good old boys.
Rocking that blue skin.
Now that would be cool if somehow the Bugattis, if they were earlier generations, if they were really big and they could have been like, hey, they're the Jotun.
Oh, we could use that to like, hey, look, after a while, ancient aliens ran out of so much material, they just started like really digging deep, scratching real hard. You could make a whole episode about maybe the ice giants had that disorder that I'm not even going to try to pronounce right now.
Methylomenia, blah, blah, blah.
Mesothelioma. Mesothelioma, that's what I want to say.
You might be compensated.
Are there feral humans in the Smoky Mountains? Yes.
Yes, almost certainly. I mean,
no E.
because these are people folk from around here.
Regionalist bastards.
Smoky.
Smoky.
I mean, surely you gotta, I mean, is that how you spell smoky? It seems like it is.
It doesn't look right, does it, to you?
No, it doesn't. I think it's smoky with an EY. Yeah, smoky with an EY. Are there any mountain lions in the Smoky Mountain? Yes, there are. I saw a bobcat today. Just went across the hill in front of
Yeah,
me.
they're coming back. They were gone for a while.
Have you seen that meme that says, bobcats are too small to live in the wild, stop being silly and get in my house?
No, I haven't seen that. They're definitely out there. I saw the one I saw today was fairly good size. It was almost the size like that I would have thought it was a mountain lion. I mean, it was one of the bigger bobcats I've seen. It was really lean, but it was tall.
Have you heard people talk about panther-esque cats? Mm-hmm. I've heard people talk about those for a long time, but you see people online say that they don't exist either.
No, they used to call them. Actually they mentioned them in the Jacktail. They called them painter.
Oh yeah.
Painter. That's what they called them.
I think they're around here. I've seen there's too many people talk about them.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Forestry Service caught them on camera. They were trying to catch golden eagles. They put out a bunch of roadkill out in the woods and put some game cameras on it where they had seen golden eagles, and they caught the golden eagles, but then they also ended up catching mountain lions on there too. The hunters have been telling you for years that they've been catching them on their trail cams. They're out there. Yeah. And I've heard them. I mean, I guess it could have been a bobcat, but.
I got a thought while you're changing this. People keep, they keep telling modern day. I just don't know why we don't believe locals. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the locals tell you there's a chupacabra.
Well, I've been seeing that for years. Oh, yeah.
The locals say that there's black panthers in Appalachia. No, there's not. Like, I just don't know why they don't ever believe the locals. It's really confusing.
Well, I saw a turkey fly.
Did you really?
The other day.
Like a little tiny turkey fly. You saw a turkey fly. I mean,
I saw a flying turkey. I've seen turkeys fly a couple times. Well, I heard turkeys couldn't fly. I've seen turkeys like straight up fly a couple times.
Probably domestic turkey, maybe. Because they're
clip their wings.
They're dumb. Yeah. Domestic turkeys are sadly very dumb creatures.
Well, I saw one just take off and fly across the road on me a few years ago, and then I was going down the interstate the other day and saw a turkey just sailing right over me. It's like what? It was crazy because I was like
the waddle and all that.
You know, it was flying gracefully. I was thinking it was like what kind of weird raptor is this? Like I've never seen, because I see a lot of red-tailed hawks in that area.
Noble.
No, it was pretty smooth. It was pretty smooth sailing, but it was probably about 20, 30 feet up over the interstate. I mean, it looked crazy. And I was like, what the hell is that? But it was a turkey. I mean, I don't know how far they can go. He may have just glided from, up the hill.
I don't think they're they're not going to see him flying. They're kind of like, oh, they can get up in the air and kind of.
Well, I mean, like,
Yeah,
chickens can fly.
Yeah, it's kind of the same.
But I mean, like,
concept. It's
can chickens fly for a really
not
long
very
time?
far at all.
I've
Like
seen them fly for about 50 feet, though. I mean,
yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
kind
good
of the same
distance.
concept with the turkey.
the farthest I ever seen a chicken fly was when it got its head cut off one time. We had
So
one
why can
that
ducks
actually
fly so well?
flew.
Ducks take off and they go for a really, really long time.
Well, I guess they're designed
Their wing
for it.
structures are different.
They
all-
Not boned in the genetics. They just, you've got wings, but you ain't going nowhere.
It's like you were once a dinosaur and you fucked up.
the duck's actually the fastest flying bird.
The duck is the fastest
Yeah,
flying bird.
over land, or over, not diving. Now, a peregrine falcon can dive 250 miles an hour, but a duck can cover the most ground from point A to point B most quickly.
How about that? Good for you, ducks.
I don't know why branching on the birds. We do have a lot of cool bird species since we have like locally we have peregrine falcons, we got bald eagles, we got all the spiffy ones.
We got a big
We
increase.
got golden
in,
eagles.
cardinals
We
and
got
a bunch of them.
the blue herons are insane lately. Like there was like when I was a kid, you'd see a blue heron every I don't know a couple times a year. You'd see one over Watauga River. Now you see one almost every day.
There's
anytime
one
you
that
go by.
I haven't seen in the past couple times, but he hangs out down by the covered bridge like regularly.
Yeah, I've seen one down there.
And I've got like really good pictures of him.
Where can we
on
find
the,
your
on the
pictures at,
scintillating
dog?
lens on Facebook.
You got an Instagram site too.
Yeah.
don't you?
An Instagram, yeah.
I think you like my stuff.
The
Instagram,
scintillating
yeah.
lens. So
Be
check
better
out
to do
check
it
out
on Instagram,
Dustin's shots there on the old Instagram. You can see some pictures of.
Feral people.
No, that's just Dustin.
Not yet.
Oh, yeah, look, we're our display capture's working now, so everybody's just seeing this. Now I can't get it to go away. Look, it's not even turned on. What a good program.
You blaming
No,
us?
just showing the regulars.
Okay. Well, it may click on there in just a second. It was showing me that it was capturing everything. So, back into are there wild men, feral people in the Smokies? This is outdoormotives.com. Now, before we get into the story here, have y'all heard firsthand of any stories from people that who've seen feral humans?
Besides the one I just told you of the dude seeing one, possibly one in a cave.
Yeah, I can rehash what my grandma used to tell. My grandma, she lived, okay, you said the B Cliffs up from that area. If you follow the river up a little bit, there was where the old steel bridge used to be. There's Bill Allen's farm. And there's a road that runs right there. Right. She lived in that area, had a big piece of land, but her family lived up in what's called Bishop Holler. And
Exactly where that is.
okay, so up in the sticks. And she would tell us at nighttime when we'd be at her trailer up in near the Watauga Dam that she didn't like us going out too late at night because the booger man might get you. And she said when she was a kid, there'd be groups of people that would live in the woods. So putting two and two together, I'm wondering if that's not Bigfoot related, but she never called him Bigfoot. She always referred to him as the booger man. And I always thought it was the boogeyman.
Well, out
I think it's different.
in Norton and stuff, the wood booger is a Sasquatch type creature that's
Is it?
been told to reside in that area. They even have a statue of him.
Do they?
Yep.
Well, we need to see that picture.
The
So,
wood booger.
so these things all come down to they end up being like large humans or humanoid creatures with lots of hair, a bad smell, wood mayor. How did that creep into my head? The wood booger. Let's see here if we can get a picture of him.
That's not.
That's
like,
a little silly. It looks like a Pokemon.
Well, that's not what. That's the advertisement there.
Fuck that shit.
Let's see.
Hashtag.
There's the wood booger,
Already.
and
Chuck Norris.
I think we're showing it to the people.
Yeah.
There's the statue of the wood booger at Flag Rock Overlook,
Okay, well, it's a little Sasquatchy.
city of Norton. Yeah, he's quite Sasquatchy.
They
But-
even have a wood bugger cafe over there too. I need to go back over there too.
Where's
to
this
do
at?
that.
Norton.
Norton.
Is it Virginia?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's not
But if you'll look, this guy, he's got like more of an ape-like build than like the traditional Bigfoot, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. Or the statue does anyway.
because I'm pretty sure you can buy like a cast model of that at the place up near Hampton.
Yeah.
No, he
I've
looks
seen
more
that one.
Bigfooty. Yeah, now those statues, I love all those. I wanted to get that bear that's just looking at you like.
I'm gonna buy tons of these wood booger statues and set them out throughout the forest.
Wood booger bumper sticker. There's the wood booger grill.
Yep.
The wood booger grill.
Look at him. He looks like he'd serve you a good burger.
Doesn't he?
And probably if it's not human meat, because there's a lot of stories that the feral people are eating humans. That's one of the reasons that this story's been getting so popular lately.
Cannibals?
Yeah, that's and there's not really any.
Explain more into like the craziness, cause I forget what it is. Eating human flesh, it does something that makes your brain like rot out.
Yeah, it does in all the video games anyway. It gives you the shakes or makes you laugh, like in DayZ.
Jacobs.
In DayZ, you can't quit laughing when you eat it.
It's real similar to well, Creutzfeldt Jacobs is where it comes from. It's a prion similar to mad cow disease, and it gets hung inside your brain. There's something about eating human meat. There's things in our meat that we can't break down the same way as like in cow. Cows get mad cow disease
from
eating dead cow. That's where they get it to begin with, because they were feeding it to them by mistake or something.
And in disguise, this is actually what the zombie virus is.
Yeah, Creutzfeldt Jacobs. It's when you get human prions. It really fucks your brain up, man.
It says it's a neurodegenerative disorder with characteristic clinical and diagnostic features that is rapidly progressive and is always fatal. Infection with this disease lives to death within 1 year of illness. So I don't think they could have that and propagate their species. But who knows? Maybe that's what makes you a feral person or a Tennessee wild man, is that you have grown resistance to Creutzfeldt Jacob disease.
I'm wondering like with the ferality of people like going. Is that a word? Ferality.
Ferality.
The ferality. I'm wondering with like if someone would go feral and then go into cannibalism. I saw I'm gonna say document because I don't remember if it was a podcast. Maybe like JRE or something.
Mm-hmm.
They explained that it's anthropology. They explained that the reason cannibalism is prevalent where it's prevalent, the other thing that's always prevalent where cannibalism exists is a lack of protein.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way as like an animal's not going to cannibalize its own things if there's something else to eat. Because I mean, simply put, it's just easier to kill a chicken than it is to kill another grown man, you know?
And I also have like some weird theory with that. How it's brought on by cannibalism, probably. Whenever they die, they become Wendigos to go into Native American lore.
You know, we didn't talk about Wendigos in our Appalachian cryptids, which we should have.
We got a chat in here that says Kuru.
Let's see what Kuru is. I don't know what that is.
Kuru here is laurel. Very rare disease.
Oh, a very rare disease caused by an infectious protein. Okay, that's what she was telling us. Kuru. Yeah, it is caused by an infectious prion found in contaminated human brain tissue. And it was found among the people of New Guinea who practiced a form of cannibalism in which they ate the brains of dead people as part of their funeral rituals. Smart cannibals don't eat the brains. All right, guys, so let's put this up.
Okay, so this is just leading me more that this is a zombie virus.
Okay, we can build on this. We can build on Kuru. Kuru kills you, right?
There we go. Kuru, no, that was Creutzfeldt Jacob, it says. For tribe and endo-cannibalistic rituals, is it safe to eat our parents? From Microbiology Italia.
Yeah, but okay.
That's the title now.
Let's go. Let's go down this one.
We go down through lots of different examples of cannibalisms here, from Zoroaster to
we're eating
Egyptian.
And stuff when our babies are born, so
that's true. Well, we are not, but some women are.
Pickled dad feet.
Pickled dad feet.
So it's a foray tribe in Papua New Guinea, and they eat their ancestors, right? They eat their deceased body of their loved ones, and they believe it's providing a blessing to those who eat the remains. So it's part of a ritual, their death
Where
ritual.
was this again?
This was in Papua New Guinea.
Okay, so I'm assuming in Papua New Guinea they have an issue with food.
Well, I don't know, because
I'm just saying, like, everywhere that there's cannibalism, there seems to be an issue with needing protein. But That's just a theory, but I mean, like that's interesting. That's in the brains.
Brain would be very
Nutritious.
protein. Yeah. It's electric spaghetti.
Let's see, what would be the way famine? Well, how would we search that?
It's just like a bunch of dudes with Stratocasters and wah pedals and loop stations and one really good drummer. And then golf pops up in spandex with a 9-string bass. Electric spaghetti.
Let's see,
It's name
hunger.
too, by the way, because in this scenario, you're amazing. You get to anybody's voice you want.
Continuing.
5 facts about hunger.
Yeah, so a lot of people are hungry in Papua New Guinea. 50% of children are malnourished, and data gathered on food insecurity is scarce, and they do have rely a lot on farming, which, you know, these fellas looking pretty skinny over here, so could be onto something. Maybe why they, you know, eat their dead as part of ritual, because they may need to have that protein, or their bodies are craving the protein so much that they, I don't know, develops that. But in Kuru, is the disease he ended up calling it in the foray language. Kuru means tremble for fever or cold, which are the symptoms of the disease, including loss of muscle control and compulsive laughter and euphoria. So it's also called the laughing disease. And
I bet it kills your prefrontal cortex, because that's what they do with lobotomies. Essentially, they would like put a thing up your front of your brain and make you a happy moron. Which they did to a Kennedy. Did you know that? There was one of the Kennedy's daughters. They lobotomized her.
oh yeah, that was
Yeah,
crazy.
it's something they don't talk about it.
Yeah, they stuck her in an institution and lobotomized her. Yeah, that was crazy. All right, let's see. Let's get back over to okay. I also put in the description, if you got Discovery Plus or if you got Discovery Channel on your television provider, I linked the Expedition X episode, The Terror in Appalachia, because there are reports of hikers going missing, and there are on not just on the trail, but they're all over the country in the national parks. David Pilatus, who I also linked in the description, this David Pilatus into this one, he goes into a little bit. If you've been watching the news locally, especially if you're from our area, but you may have seen it in the national news too. We had a little girl named Summer Wells who went missing, and I'm not going to get into all the details of it here because it takes 34 minutes for David Pilatus to break it down in just this part of the video that I shared, because it's actually several parts. But there's a lot of weird stuff going on with where she went missing from, where other people have gone missing before in that area, and she has an aunt missing, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. So David Pilatus, check that out in the description of the video. It looks like this. I shared his video here, and
I was never harmed.
missing 411. And he kind of tends to lean towards, it seems like maybe something like there are. I don't think he ever actually says this, so I don't want to put words in his mouth. But when I see him talking about it, it kind of seems like he has an idea that there's something out in the woods, maybe a group.
I
of
think
people.
there's something in the woods. I don't know if it's necessarily feral people, but I think there has to be something that preys on human beings, if not just a more dominant vampiric version of us.
And also for,
yeah.
I guess, in certain aspects, if feral humans, they still have some more higher cognitive function. Hey, if they go steal a kid, that's fresh bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like if we're going to take it to because there's a case and I think Count Dankula did an episode on it where a family were living under a bridge somewhere and they were just cannibalizing the group of the travelers between cities, and they would just yank them off their horses and eat them. And we think that is that where we draw the line, or suddenly calling people evil or whatever is because they're eating us? Because there's very psychopathic people that prey on humans anyway. They might not literally eat them, but they'll drain their bank account dry. They'll do awful things to other people. RAPE, for example. I mean, whatever. I'm just saying, where we draw the line at, now we're going to eat them so we can stay alive. But I guess I'm trying to say maybe the cannibal person isn't as...
Series.
There has to be something out there way too many miles unexplored.
Yeah, thanks,
Especially in
Laurel.
Appalachia, man, it's dense here. It's
Yeah.
very thick here.
Well, and when you go up here into
With 2 C's.
Appalachia's thick. Goff said it, and he's,
woods are
and
thick.
he's a naturist.
like that thick wood. No, you go stand up on top of a mountain, you just hit about 2,500, 3,000 feet high up here, and you look out and see how far you can see, like up over the Pennington Gap up in that
You
area.
go to the Balds up Roan Mountain.
Yeah.
Those are over a mile.
Yeah, you can see a good ways just from half a mile. I mean, but you get up into a mile, like the Balls, like you said, you get up to Sam's Gap, and you look out over the mountains that way, and you see how much undeveloped land there is, how much area there is for people to hide. Not to even mention subterranean. There's all kinds of fresh drinkable water out there. There's all kinds of game out there, and maybe there's people, maybe some of them are eating people, or maybe they are recruiting people. Maybe they've got a secret bloodline out there in the woods, and that's
Maybe
why they
Bigfoot lives
steal
underground.
people.
Maybe he's got like underground network, sort of a they live sort of thing going on. I love some of those Bigfoot people because I don't shit on Bigfoot people because I think the Bigfoot people have the same problem every group has. The most extreme version is what everybody thinks you are.
Yeah.
When you say you're I'm into UFOs, and automatically they think you're the guy at Area 51 walk around with a giant head on.
Yeah.
Please take me with the sign or whatever. And but some of those Bigfoot people really do crack me up. Where he's like, I saw Bigfoot once, and it's like, where? Well, he was invisible at the time. I saw the ripple. It's like, you sure you didn't see the predator? Or he can shapeshift into
like
a frog
I've
to hide.
Yeah, a
I've
game
heard that
frog?
theory that Bigfoot creatures are actually interdimensional beings. That's why you can never concretely find them.
Just an ocean
They
of
can
trees.
phase out of this dimension.
It's more
Yeah.
believable than Bigfoot can turn into a frog to hide from you.
Well, I mean, if
Using just mass,
well, it's like Tim said, though, if we're in a simulation, like a lot of people are saying, then why is it so crazy to say that maybe Bigfoot can move in and out of that simulation or on a different
Is
level
that
of
what
it?
you're saying? Like Bigfoot can walk through the back rooms?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Hey, I meant to ask you on the last episode, we were kind of getting to the end. Did you ever see Twin Peaks season 3? Because it gets into the back rooms kind of
Is
on
it the
that.
back rooms? Because I know they had like the Dark and White Lodge or whatever.
Well, in season 3 that came out on Showtime, probably, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, they had it may have even been called the back rooms, but basically they were this big tunnel in the sky would open up when they would get to a certain point of, longitude and latitude, and they would reach these, points where they'd open up, and there would be like a phone connection or something that would basically take them to another area.
I think that's like almost like intentional though. The back rooms is supposed to be like you got there by mistake, so you're lost. Whereas like I guess it's similar. I'm not even saying I believe the back rooms, so that's a very popular internet topic. Is when people try to transition from one spot to the other and they end up somewhere. I guess kind of like on that Thor movie where they all ended up on the dude, what's the dude? Michael Ian from the Jurassic Park. What's his name in real life?
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum's island and Thor. It's kind of like the back rooms. It's kind of like that. If you go anywhere, like if you don't go from point A to point B, the lost spot is kind of like that's the back rooms. It's kind of like just there in between everything.
Okay. I guess the thing on Twin Peaks is kind of like something for the people, something for the programmers to use, basically, was more of what that is. So I guess that's a different thing.
Man, I've watched way too much theory on Twin Peaks and stuff to where I actually know what some of the theory behind it is.
Yeah.
That we can talk about.
Yeah, we can get it out there
really
because
bore the hell out of people.
Yeah, most people haven't seen it. But if you haven't seen Twin Peaks season 3, especially if you like the first 2 seasons,
Laurel
check it out.
said that
She says just an ocean of trees.
Well,
Just an ocean of trees. Yes, that's
Well,
right.
speaking of ocean, like, do you think it's possible a la mermaid? Ocean, like, if people can adapt out there, what's to say that people can't adapt?
Well,
more in the
isn't
water?
there's a isn't a Pacific tribe where they actually kind of adapted more, having webbing again, and
Did they?
I think I could be thinking of something way different, but
Now, I know a lot of the, like, the seafarers, they had, like, epigenetically, they have a hard time losing weight now. because where they were on boats for so long, their bodies knew that they needed to retain every calorie possible because they weren't going to eat for a while. And so now that's why they invented like Zuma and all that stuff, because it's like they have these stubborn calories thanks to their tribesmen being able to go across vast oceans for months at a time, and now they're like, fuck, I just want to be able to fit into a size 4 again. They can't because epigenetics, man.
I mean, it sucks when you get too big from eating too many people to fit into your clothes.
I don't think those are the people eaters. These are efficient ones. The people eaters would be the Maori over in New Zealand.
Okay. Well, one of the popular theories for, where Dennis Martin, what we were talking about earlier, went missing, was the wild men, feral humans who go out snatching wild stock, children. This is something that goes way back a long time. Little big feet, if you will. So it's like, are we dealing with people who are
little feet?
are we dealing with little Bigfoots? Or are we dealing with people who are hiding like some, the hills have eyes kind of deal?
That's inbred, and hills have eyes, aren't they?
Yeah, but they lived lived out in the desert. But what if we got just people like that up in the hills? And that's kind of what a lot of the reports of them here recently sound like. Yeah, Wrong Turn. Yeah, there you go.
That was
Yeah, I forgot about that movie.
There's like 4 or 5 of them, and yeah.
Well, heck, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a similar premise. It's just he grabs a chainsaw and wears people as a mask or whatever.
Yeah.
But
still, that whole family could be almost considered a
people under the stairs. Since we're naming inbred movies, like people under the stairs,
yeah.
It was a premise they kept having ugly children because they were brother and sister, and every time they didn't like the kid, they would just toss it in the basement. That's a weird movie.
Yeah, it is. I really like that movie. It was, that's a Wes Craven film.
Is it?
Yeah, I didn't realize that till I was growing that was a Wes Craven. I hadn't seen it in years. So I've watched it a bunch of times when I was a kid. But the wild people supposedly spoke English too, so that was some kind of idea that they may have been not feral. Actually, they may have been just a group of people who lived out there, kind of, like maybe the mother and father and people under the stairs, with who knows who living out there under them, but basically preying on people, organized cannibalistic humans abducting folks. Now, personally, I think that would be, it'd be a good way to get. You do see so many people go just go vanishing without a trace in the mountains here, but there's so many ways for them to go, so many places they could be. It's hard to really say, oh, it's got to be feral people when you don't really have evidence for that. Really, we don't know what it is. We don't know where these people go. We don't know where they disappear, and that's kind of the most intriguing thing about it, and that's kind of the most scary thing about it. So, what's that we got?
So there's similarities between Alzheimer's and prions now. Called prion. Sorry, that was a weird noise, guys.
That's what it actually says, though.
Yeah, it's about.
So you go back to the Tennessee Wild Man back in 1877. You go back to that. That's the first time when it was spotted, and a lot of people said maybe these were deserters after the Civil War. You imagine a guy runs off and didn't want to be in the war. A guy gets shot and left behind, but somehow survives. And there's hard telling how these people get out in the woods. But when you look at just how big the mountains are, and how big and just how dense the forest is, how much area underground there is. There's just so many places to hide that it makes us wonder, well, is there something in there? So whether there is or not, the question is kind of always going to be in there, just because we're thinking about the possibility of it.
Well, heck, there's whole towns around here that you can find.
Yeah,
you can hike far enough.
Well, like the Lost Cove over in Unicoi County.
What's left of it?
Yeah. Well, you know what's left in it? There's a staircases out in the middle of nowhere. So as we got back into that topic on the last episode, I forgot that was one place I actually had. Remember, I said I had run into some staircases in the woods, and I couldn't really remember exactly where most of them were. But okay, here's one. I actually took a picture of this one in the Lost Cove. Well, shoot, if we can get it up here on the display capture. Where'd it go? Well. Nope. It's not wanting to show it to me now. There they are.
There it is.
Okay, I gotta do. What the hell is this weird thing?
I don't know, trying to be fancy with their computer.
I guess, why don't they just show me two different images instead of...
Stairs going right up to a tree.
I gotta go over to the other camera so we can display.
Pretty special tree.
But let's go back down here. That's why it wasn't display captured. But this is... Oh, shoot. Not working. That's what it says. It says it's on.
Oh, that is look nice.
Yeah. So there's you some actual stairs in the woods leading to nowhere, but there was a town there, and that's why it's there, because, you know, the house got tore down. A lot of people say there's not an explanation for that, but there is an explanation if you actually look into it. If you just come across it in the woods, you'd be like, oh, that makes no sense. There's a tree there. Why would that be there? There's no house around. But there is an explanation because there was a town there, and there is
that church.
That's the schoolhouse and church in one building, and it's gone now. The stairs are all that remained of it in 2021. There's only one house I think left still standing.
Like an old truck.
There it is right here. Yeah, there's a couple of old vehicles there.
The feral people are just stupid kids. They just can't leave upstairs.
We went to. That's the Chester Bailey house. Me and Brandy and my kids and my brother Dom, we went in there and ate lunch, and it was like probably this time of year, and man, it was not warm yet, but we about froze in that little house there with the wind whipping through there, but that was the only one still standing. And the Lost Cove was a timber town, and they eventually ran out of timber, and the railroad quit coming through there, so the whole town just kind of fell apart.
All the trees down?
Yeah, the last people went. Well, all the hardwood trees. Yeah, it was all
trees now.
It was all pine, and there wasn't any hardwood trees worth pulling out of there. But so we have vanished communities. I mean, so. This is a whole town up there that could hide. So yeah, there could be people hiding, but ultimately it just comes right down to we just don't know. We don't have any evidence of it. I mean, there's the idea and people see them, but there's no evidence of any organization or anything like that.
Just hit me.
What's that?
To quote Smee from Hook, lightning just struck my brain, and you say that sounds painful. I always had this like weird thought, like why don't homeless people live where they're from or leave where they're from? Like if I became homeless tomorrow, like, everybody in Elizabethton hates me. I'm not staying in Elizabethton. It's not a good place to be homeless.
Right.
It gets cold and wet. So I would start hiking. I'd get out, maybe go west somewhere where it's dry and warm. Yada. So but people do stay where they're from. And I think people have a real hard, like they're almost like magnetically attracted to where they're from. And they don't want to leave. So I'm wondering like what would happen if you had like one of these like cabin in the woods sort of situations where you have a family at some point just doesn't keep up to snuff with it, and now all of a sudden you have a handful of people just living out there. Like how long before they lose touch with everybody? Like you would stay, you know what I'm saying? Like people that would not want to leave that situation. It's almost like prison people. They get used to being in there and they'll just commit a crime so they get back in there, It's almost...
It makes me think of Tom Sawyer where he fakes his own death to watch the funeral. Isn't that Tom Sawyer? And he just like hangs out on hangs out and watches everybody, and everybody thinks he's dead. I think that'd be how I would feel if I were homeless in my hometown. I'd have to just like kind of hang back and not let anybody see me, I think. So yeah, maybe people do go on, and maybe they drift into, if they don't want to go somewhere new, maybe they sit back and watch from afar and dart into town and get what they need. And occasionally, as they become more and more detached from society, maybe they start, attacking people or stalking people uncomfortably. Maybe they're not even, trying to hurt them or anything, but you've been living out on your own in the woods for years and years, and you see a hiker walk by, and you're hoping they may drop a cigarette lighter or something, and they're,
maybe you see that leg, and you're like, and that leg looks like a tasty haunch.
I got some special sauce I'd like to pour on that leg and take a bite. No, that's Man, that's a possibility too. I mean, you get to start getting into the crazy side of it there too, the loneliness and the isolation and the desperation and the lack of protein, and you never know what you might do in that
Yeah,
situation.
like super, like uber survivalism, like the state. I think they call it anime, like in the societal state where rules completely go out the window. And it's all about survival. But like on an independent level, like if you really become a feral person where survival becomes the day-to-day thing, where I got to eat today. What happens when you've not seen a human in day 965 and all of a sudden you see someone out there, hey Dolores, I'm trying to get a signal. You know, so Day of the Dead one, you know.
Well, he doesn't have any, granola bars on him. I'm gonna have to eat something. Yeah, so who knows what leads it to it, and it could even be like eating. I'm sure you could get some kind of prion disease or some kind of crazy disease from eating.
Well,
if you weren't able to cook your food.
What was it called? That kuvu or whatever.
Yeah,
it was.
kuru.
Like it was in the brain.
Yeah, well, what if you ate like I don't know, what if you came across a dead animal and ate its brain, or killed an animal and ate its brain and got the prion disease? And
I think so, because there was a ban at one point in time on eating monkey brains because it was causing people.
Yeah, it could lead to you even getting it without even eating a human, which could cause you then to go crazy and eat a human.
So I think the issue is don't eat brain.
Yeah.
Man, Hannibal Lecter was a lucky bastard, wasn't he? All them brains and never lost motor control.
Well, he knew how to cook that shit.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, man, he'd do fancy stuff with
Can
it.
you cook prions out?
I don't know, but Hannibal Lecter knew his brains. He was a genius, so I'm sure he was able to figure that out. Let's see here. We went over pretty much all this stuff. I think to sum it up, there's a lot of reports of stuff, and I think that's just kind of people. I think there are people living out in the woods here and there. I don't think it's any organized group or anything like that, like some people may have theorized. But maybe there are families or small groups, who live out there and do mess with people. And they actually had. Well, go ahead.
I can't.
Oh, please, you have to now. Oh, you have to now.
I'll tell you off camera.
Oh, man.
It involved the ad down the bottom of the screen that popped up right as you were talking about.
Okay.
Where did you do your hiking thing? I mean, because I remember you said you took a bunch of other young men and you went and just went over top of the hill. Where exactly did you do that at?
What are you talking about? What I talked about today?
No.
You said that you're glad that y'all didn't.
Oh, that was in Unicoi. That was over off of not near the beauty spot and Unica Mountain Overlook, Red Fork Falls, that area there. That's actually where me and B got married, was on the way out to Red Fork Falls. I'll tell you what though, I've had some weird experiences out there too, when like just me and B have been out there, and there's all kinds of crazy noises, and it's like, it doesn't seem like people, but it's like you're being watched. And I've been in the woods a lot. I mean, I've been in the woods since I was a small child. I'm very comfortable in the woods. I don't.
Feral?
I was somewhat feral. Yes, I did a lot of camping. I did a lot of hanging out in the woods. Did a lot of hiking. I am very comfortable in the woods. I've never been someone who gets freaked out hearing noises or anything like that. But there is Ashley Leonard says mad cow disease. Yep, that's pretty much what we're dealing with. It's a very similar thing.
Before we wrap the episode up, we do need to mention our sponsor, Tammy Hubbard's Custom Sex Toys. So I'll let you get back to your thing, and then I have
Poor Tammy.
She gave me a paper to read off, talking about this month's specials. But go ahead.
Use the code TIMTIM, you get 10% off.
Oh no, it's Hulk Smash.
Oh, Hulk Smash, 10% off your
Use
butt
the
plug with the code
Hulk
Hulk Smash.
at Tammy Hubbard's CustomSexToys.com to get 15% off.
Oh, it's 15 now.
I get to make up my own. Tim Smash is 15%.
Okay.
She wanted me to talk to you later about maybe getting the scintillating lens in this. I said I don't know if he wants to get into snippy because that becomes porn on that level. Tammy is an open-minded woman. Scotty is a lucky man. Let's keep it talking. They go feral.
I hope you're watching, Tammy.
I'm gonna start doing it every week. So when she does chime in, she'll be like, "What?"
Did she ever hear when you did it the first time?
I don't think so.
Oh man.
Yeah, yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Okay.
Because she did, but she didn't finish watching the episode the next day.
Okay. Well, Tammy, I hope you're out there with us, and I don't know you, but thank you for joining us if you are. So yeah, thanks. If there's any new subscribers out there, thanks for joining us, and thanks for watching with us this long. We're going to hit a couple of. I'm not even going to hit the local news stories because we can take these on Wednesday. I think they'll fit in better with that 'cause they're not really related to what we were doing tonight. So we'll save these, and we will, kind of. If you're more interested in this subject, I've shared lots of stuff into you. This is not supposed to be an information video. This is just us shooting the shit about the stuff we found from the information that we looked into. So if you want to find out more, I've shared all this stuff in here. There's a whole bunch out there. You can Google too. Yeah, there's a whole lot out there about it. You'll have to make up your own mind. I'm not any more convinced one way or the other after looking at all kinds of stuff for a whole lot, and I've heard a lot of stories. I do think, like I said, that there are some people out there living alone in the woods. I really think there are feral people, but I don't tend to think that there is a organized group or like a village out there in the woods.
You don't think it's possible that they're in like families?
No, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, and in families, yeah, maybe,
like that,
yeah, maybe stuff like that. I don't think that there are what do you call it, like a. Just like a group of people, let's like say have a village that's like
There's
hiding.
no commune.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's probably.
You don't think there's like a small time breakaway success?
Yeah, exactly. No.
None.
No.
Not a single.
No.
One? You don't think there's like a school bus of 300? School bus of 300 people. Jeez. You don't think there's 300 people? Well, because there's like 30 active communes. So I'm saying like what I mean by is like clandestine, like a secret.
No, I know what you mean. No, I think it's more of like small groups or individuals than it is
feral families.
Yeah.
Because those are documented. Like I said, there was a Mad Lads episode about that. I think it was. It was a family that lived in like a cave, and they would come out and attack travelers.
But that's the funny thing about it is the ones here in Appalachia is there's not really any documented cases. It's just all a lot of reports. I mean, everybody there's a lot of eyewitness stories, but nobody has like found a dead feral human or that I can find anyway. Or we've got stuff like Dennis Martin, like we're theorizing that perhaps feral humans ran off with him.
I have a theory on why you can't find any dead ones. I mean, you were sitting there talking about the Fugazi? What was the name?
Blue Fugattis.
Fugattis, like who was the ones that they said it was a. Okay, you have to tell people not to eat their brain, then people are eating a lot of people if you have to make a sign. So maybe there's no feral humans because families
recycle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if we eat our dead,
maybe they do.
What if we eat our dead?
Maybe they make their bones into instruments. Or
I really don't think that's too unheard of either, because like we were talking about on the Halloween episode, we started talking about the cult of the skull with the Iberian Peninsula and how it was a common practice for when people would die, you would save their skull and then you would bring it out at that time of the year to kind of show the spirit that, hey, we still remember you enough to keep your head around. And I mean, like, I don't know, 1600s or whatever, like if we're keeping our parents' dead heads and shit around for that long, like, you don't think it's completely possible that people would just be like, I'm living out in the woods, and I don't know. I think it's possible. I think there's wild people out there. It makes sense to me.
Well, I think you're right. I just don't. The only thing I don't think is that, like I said, that there's a big organized group out there like some people have.
How big are they saying? Like others like 1,300 or something?
Well, yeah, I think that there's the idea that some people
if they're
have
organized. They wouldn't really be that feral.
Right. Yeah.
It's not feral at that point. That's a breakaway society.
Well, I guess some people are saying that they think that these people are like pretending to be feral, or they want us to think that they're feral. That's how they grab people, but they're a group of people out there who are abducting people in an organized manner, and that they are either sending people who look feral or pretending to be feral in order to collect people for whatever their purposes are.
Could we call them the Vendo?
Some interesting woods Kool-Aid there.
Have you ever seen the 13th Warrior?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jacob Brummett, I hope you're watching. He's in the FBI, I'm pretty sure.
Really? His brother's a lawyer. He's
a lawyer. I think Jacob's with the TBI. and the 13th Warrior, Antonio Banderas, he gets some. Long story short, they end up going back to the Vikings, go back to their home island or something because they're being attacked by an ancient evil. Ancient evil they call the Vendo, and it ends up being cannibals that pretend to be bears. Mm-hmm. But that is a rather large group of people. Like, it's thousands of people living down inside this network of caves. So there you go. There's your subterranean world, too. Yeah. They live in the ground. There's bunches of them.
Hey, I mean, if it's that, we would never know. So, I mean, I'm not saying...
Well, I mean, if you killed a bear and it was a dude underneath with paint all over, like, oh, shit.
Well, I just mean...
Vendo exists.
I'm just mean if there was an organized people, like, underground or something, and they'd send out feral people every now and then to grab it, how would we know? But, I mean, I just don't... We haven't seen any evidence, I guess, for that. Is what we can say that anything's possible, but just the evidence doesn't support
the honeycomb Earth theories and stuff like that.
Yeah, or hollow Earth, honeycomb, all kinds of that stuff.
Honeycomb and hollow, or is it just like a more elaborate version?
It's kind of like a little more believable instead of just the Earth being completely like hollow on the inside. How they say it's like pockets, like little.
Okay.
I mean, by little, they could still be like hundreds of miles, really. But like. Because how the Earth's crust moves, it wouldn't be just like one solid sheet. It would have pockets in it.
So this is crazy. Like, we had 1,700 people view our episode on episode 3, the feral humans, in the last 2 days. So something has really got this topic becoming popular
or something.
Yeah,
feral people. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, you come to the right place.
Yeah, that's right.
Feral.
Like I said, there's a lot of discussion of it out there. So I mean, if you want to find a lot of information, you can find that out there. And I shared several places you can find it. But we're just here to shoot the shit about it. And I was hoping y'all would chime in with us on the live chat. If you're watching later, though, put it on a comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say about it. If you have any other ideas for what may be causing these disappearances, or what may be leading to these feral people sightings, again, with the people with the hairy people with the flat face and growling at people, and in some cases they've been seen eating deer and things like that. I don't want to rehash the whole first time we talked about this, but I kind of just did. But yeah, I think that's about where we lie. There's probably some people out there, and there's probably some people out there fucking with people, and there's probably some people occasionally dragging people off in the woods and doing God knows what with them. But
and they need like more tribesmen.
I mean, who knows?
Maybe some more wild people.
But there are instances of experienced people getting dragged off into the woods or disappearing in the woods. Experienced adventurers, armed survivalists, and things like this.
State park, anytime you're out, like especially out in like the Rocky Mountains, there's signs all the time. List of people that are just currently missing.
Yep, and David Pilatus goes into a lot of those too. So if you want to check him out, if you're more interested in the topic, he's like the go-to guy. Also, Donnie Laws on YouTube. He's an Appalachian guy that has a lot of interesting stuff on this topic. So check him out, and you might learn some more than I can tell you. Again, we're just having a conversation about it.
Boys theory. Santa Barbara, all those missing people, and ended up being damn vampires. Yeah.
It's a gang of damn vampires, and we got to watch out for the nerds. He was the ringleader. But all right, folks. Well, we appreciate you joining us tonight. We're going to be back on Wednesday at 10 p.m. We're going to get in some of the local news stories and some of the national news stories.
Really changes things when you find out he's the grandpa in Gilmore Girls. Sorry. It really makes the whole show a lot creepier. We're like, I think this town is run by an evil group of people.
Oh, so that's why those. Okay.
And he acts the same way too.
It makes sense now. I don't remember what's the
Gilmore vamp.
Yeah, I was trying. Hey, thanks for joining us, people. We'll see you on Wednesday night.